Opportunistic will not prove very satisfying to you as a professional. If this week you get up and you say, okay, let me sell a little bit of insurance or let me sell a little bit of a health product, and next week let me see if NSEL has a good product, I'll promote a commodity arbitrage, and maybe next month I'll do something else. That is a hand-to-mouth existence, and frankly, also one which will lead to your erosion as a professional. That is the most critical issue for you. If you want to be a long-term player, you have to constantly build your self-confidence, self-belief as a professional. And therefore, I think answering that question is going to be important. And there is, again, I would underline, no right answer, but an answer is needed. And you need to work with that answer. And certainly, we would be happy to support you whichever way you came out with the answer. We don't necessarily want an industry where everyone we work with will only sell a mutual fund or our mutual fund. We are happy to work with people who have built the professional ability to be more broad-based advisors. But the key is they need to have built that capability and not just be opportunistic. I did, when we were doing our NFO roadshows, I happened to meet a young advisor in a location that I won't mention because it might give it away, young, very brash, very dashing, who simply said, just give me the commission and I'll sell whatever you want. Now, while I admired his honesty and his candor, and indeed I was somewhat amused by it, more than irritated, I would say, I did say to him, look, this is not, in his own interest, this was not going to make him a sustainable professional. He may well have 2 or 3 years. Clearly, he was successful. And that is where his confidence and his brashness came from. And I know there are many IFAs who may well taste that initial success. This is a bit like our cricket team where they play one season of IPL, they hit a few sixes, and they think they're accomplished cricketers till they land up at the Oval and they suffer an innings defeat with 200 runs gap between them and the number 5th rated test team in the world today, which is England. So tasting early success is very, very rarely any guide to a long-term career. And, this is not a moral judgment. This is simply asking, what is your real goal? Do you want to survive for the long term? If so, please ask yourself what you're really there to do. And building understanding follows from that. I think you all know, and I think today's event is partly dedicated to the purpose of building knowledge, strengthening tools, creating the professional competency, and remembering that you are not just a middleman. You are a professional, and a professional needs to continuously sharpen their skills. You need to grow those new talents. You need to find those new feathers. You need to keep finding ways to keep yourself relevant and contemporary. We all do. As a manufacturer, we need to do that. As a professional, I need to do that. So it is, if we wish to keep engaged, unless you are ready to take sannyas, you need to constantly find a way to stay relevant and contemporary. And to me, that decision is binary. If you're in the field, you must be fit to be in the field. If you wish to leave the field, you should leave it all together. And that's a decision that you should make as a life choice at the right point in time. I think the whole issue of ambiguity and flexibility, I think this is indeed probably the most difficult issue for all of us to deal with, because that's where the sharp end of change comes in. Knowing when to adapt, how much to adapt, how to deal with changing business models, changing customer requirements, changing generations. Indeed, I can tell you as a manufacturer, one of the challenges for us is we have had, as a 50-year-old institution, we have very strong relationships with a certain generation of customers. But we know in order to survive, we need to connect much more strongly with the emerging generation. And we need to do that while retaining the loyalty of the old generation who have sustained us thus far. That's a challenge of adaptability, because that new emerging generation is vastly different in the way it wants to interact, in the expectations it has. And it's not just about technology. It's about attitudes. It's about behaviors. The technology bits we can handle. We have all the technology. We have the websites, we have the Twitters, the Facebooks, and all of that. But you need to understand the mindset of that customer. And that, as an institution, is something we are learning how to do. And similarly, you as IFAs will face